All right. Thanks, Will. And thanks, everyone, for joining. If you haven't been on before, we're just wrapping before a little bit. This is our bi-weekly office hours. General structure is there'll be a topic proposed earlier in the week, emoji vote. Then we address the winning topic that Thursday. So do it every other week. Today, we're talking about the experimental vault zone. And, we'll give a quick kind of rundown on what the team is kind of thinking about around it and kind of the near term plans for it, and leave it up to the community for any open questions. If you're want to talk verbally, go for it. If you're not comfortable doing that, use the chat box and I'll just kind of talk the questions back to you so everyone knows what's going on. So the experimental vault zone, basically it's just like an overflow zone for sets. So we have the main set page, which is just strategies, vaults, whatever you want to call them, on the main page. And I think there's probably 10 or so vaults there. Now we have all the curve vaults, we have the different LP vaults, and then we have like the WBTC vault there. So those are kind of the starting strategies. We kind of added a few as we went along, but we're kind of approaching the point where we're going to start adding more at a higher rate. And it's my opinion, I think the opinion of the team, that having all of them on the front page is probably not the best user experience. And then also we want to be clear with people that some of these things aren't as battle tested as others. Most of what we launched with at Badger were forks of Yearn vaults that had been live for a while, and so we felt pretty confident that they were going to be safe. They had a lot of money in them, been operating, and everything was pretty good to go. So that was fine. But as you've seen with the launch of some of the new vaults that we've done, specifically like the Yearn vault, and then even IBBTC that we've, there's a vault for the liquidity. We've put, been slower to roll them out. We put deposit caps in, we put deposit caps per user on top so that people, don't just ape in with everything into something that hasn't been, maybe it has been audited, but, it hasn't been live in the wild. Audits aren't 100% guarantees, right? The only guarantee you can get is, closer to a guarantee is just having something have a lot of money in it for a long time. And that's like the best, signal for security, really. So we wanted, as we're going to start adding more vaults, maybe one every couple of weeks or one a week or what have you, we've got a number of them coming up. It was like, all right, well, how do we make it clear to people that these are possibly riskier? And then also just kind of isolate it to where we don't just muddy up the front UI. So that's where we're breaking out the experimental zone. It's in the arcade, and it'll be a place where you can go and you can see, it'll see all the different vaults. It's basically just a fork of the vaults UI right now. But what we have coming there, first it'll be the Dig Stability Vault will be the first one in the experimental zone, and then we have some vaults coming from, we're working with the Mushrooms team for a Ren BTC vault. And then we're working with MStable on a WBTC vault. And then we have an Acropolis vault on Binance Smart Chain coming. So I'm not sure if we'll split for the Binance Smart Chain one. That might, because there isn't as much in the app on BSC, that one might be just in the main page. So that being said, there would be 3 or 4 vaults in the next month or so that'll be popping up in the experimental zone. Still working on visualizations for deposit caps per user, and that's stuff I'd like to get feedback on, is what people like and don't like about the main set page. We have at least one UI UX focused person that picked up on a bounty to do like a redesign of the vaults and make a proposal. So also, if you're interested in doing that, by all means, down to chat. There's grants out there for those kinds of things. So that's basically what we're thinking about, is like, how can we, the way I view vaults in general is that we'll start them. I'd rather have a whole bunch of vaults that have limits on them and allow people to kind of jump in and out and test them out, try different things, and then we monitor the performance of those vaults, and then the ones that are able to firstly be secure, and then secondarily actually earn reasonable yield over time, kind of graduate those through the ranks to where eventually they can get to the main page. That set process hasn't been sorted out yet. But the idea is you can kind of move your way up and then get out of the experimental zone, get onto the main page, and then maybe become approved as a part of IBBTC is kind of the end goal, which will hopefully drive a lot of deposits there. So that's the overall thing. It's not as in-depth or complicated as many of our products, but hopefully, it seems like there's already a couple ideas here. But I'll pause there, and I'd love to hear what folks think as far as ways they would want to see that changed, or want to see kind of look like the same vaults page or completely different. How you might think of like breaking up the vaults to make it easier for users. Love to hear that. And I'll start cranking through the questions in the chat, and if anyone wants to speak up, by all means, go for it. Angus said you're basically super duper confused with the UX. Preemies agrees. Says check out Bancor. I haven't logged into Bancor in a long time, so we could check that out. I think, and that's where we're trying to kind of commission some ideas. I don't know if anyone's nailed the Vault like UI UX yet. My take on it is like separated to where you have one area where there's like a shitload of them, but make them easier to filter or sort. And then you have another area where you kind of highlight the flagships that hopefully are, and gets, to kind of your point, you said two modes, noob mode and advanced mode. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of like splitting it in two different pages, but we can kind of think about that as well. We did have a proposal come in that would make it so you can see different analytics and things like that around different vaults, which I think is cool, but I don't know if it's a priority. If we're going to have 20 vaults, you're not going to click through and view the analytics behind them, which largely will probably look very, pretty similar. We'll go back over the top. Preemie IBBTC is super exciting. I think we're right to make it our flagship product. Thanks. Yeah, I think we're pumped about that too, and I think it provides great, consistent long-term revenue as well. Given there's management fees and things like that, and that a lot coming with IBBTC very soon, especially with this big move across chains. Like Ren just announced their integration with Matic, so think Mint and Earn on Matic. Mint directly to IBBTC on Matic, like stuff like that. I think is pretty cool. Oh, Prim, yeah, I didn't even see your thing. Yeah, just put a QR code on the homepage, send PTC here and Earn. Yeah, I mean that's basically what we're gonna do. I mean, obviously there's gonna be a little bit more to it, but it'll basically be the bridge to IBBTC, and if we can do it on Matic or on another low-cost chain, then it'll be pretty easy. Preemie, yeah, you don't want to know about bridges. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we'll. It's always a trick because you need to be transparent, right? You want to make sure people have the information available to people that want the information, and you want to obviously let people know about any possible risks that exist. But yes, we don't want to just blast people with information. So I think the bridge UI is pretty clean, and maybe we'll look to clean it up. One thing I'm definitely keeping an eye out for, and would love for the community to if you guys know anything that who we should be talking to, is find like a mobile partner. To make that super easy, bridging into IBBTC, bridging into different, vaults, maybe just have a short selection of vaults on it and make that. So I think that's a whole market that we're not really addressing. You can do, the advanced users are pretty good at using MetaMask on their phone to connect to the app through Chrome or whatever. But, beyond that, it's, there's not a whole lot that you can, for a noob, it's not easy to get into Badger stuff.
Hey, Jonto, this is Premi here. Could I jump in for a second?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
So I don't know, kind of on that theme of like noob mode versus advanced mode, it's kind of like, as it is, it's advanced mode. And it would be awesome if there was just like a button go into like maxi mode. And like in maxi mode, it's like for Bitcoiners who have no clue about anything related to Ethereum, but they want to start getting this yield, which to me is what Badger's all about. It's like onboarding maxis into Ethereum and onto this whole DeFi web of Poly and Arbitrum and all this world that maxis know nothing about. So it's almost like on the side, on the left column, it's like enter maxi mode. And in maxi mode, it's just a QR code. You send Bitcoin and then you select what vault I want to go into. And somehow behind the scenes, it's making that bridge and then deposits. It's lining up all the transactions so that a complete noob can just go, okay, I do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And in the background, it's leading me through all of these things because otherwise it's like the education is just so steep. So it feels like Ethereum native people know what to do, but Bitcoin native people like me, it's like you have to learn a whole new universe. And I like personally, I see the beauty of Badger is like it's somewhere to send your Bitcoin, and then you're given back this thing that's already yielding for you. And yeah, you might have to approve 3 or 4 transactions in the process, but at least it would be like a flow that just brings maxis in without having to know deposit this, stake that, like bridge this, like who we don't know what that means. It's like a different lexicon. So yeah, that's just like that would be my idea, is like a maxi mode that's just like speaks to Bitcoin native people.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think, to Angit's point, there's still like the whole MetaMask question and yada yada. But there's like Wallet Connect, which works, and then I'll be interested to see what things pop up on. I'm also very interested in. I think in talking to the Ren crew, it sounds like they're going to be targeting to be able to bridge directly to rollup chains as well, because obviously the gas thing is a question, which we can actually solve. It's not an unsolvable thing. You can use their Bitcoin for gas, and in Zero Confirmation, when we built that out, that actually does gas as a service. So you don't actually need to have gas to trade on Uniswap with your Bitcoin using Zero Confirmation. Now, once you have your DAI or whatever else, you're kind of stuck. And part of the deployment we were going to work on is making sure you had like a little ETH left over. But I think we're looking at lower cost chains right now. So I think to roll it back up, I agree with you. I think that's a good way to go. My question is, where does it make the most sense to host that? Because we're having this explosion now of, I'm not really a huge BSC fan. We'll see if it kind of continues to chug along. Phantom seems to be doing okay, but has its own kind of issues. Matic seems to be doing pretty well, but it's not, it has its current centralization issues of some capacity. And I think people are very optimistic, I guess, pun intended, for the different Arbitrum and the optimistic rollup chains coming, and ZK rollup chains that are launching kind of now. And I think that's the tricky part, is like, as a maxi, you might want to know where, if you're going to care about where your stuff's being kind of like custodied in some capacity, right? Custodied meaning like custodied on Ethereum. Like you still, if you can hold the keys, but you kind of care about that. So I guess my question is like, do you think having something on a roll-up chain or whatever would be feasible? Or because obviously that's a better UI UX. It's like, it's faster, it's cheaper. You don't have to have as much gas money. We could do it to layer 1, and that might be even more of a flow they're used to, where it's like, if they can at least step through the steps of setting up MetaMask and getting your private key, it's like they know what a private key is. They can store that, as they do a regular private key. Or is focusing on that on layer 1 good? Or do you think let's go for like the maxi but also just complete noob angle, where it's like, hey, you just use Wallet Connect to create your Arbitrum account, and then you send your Bitcoin here. I don't even know what the asset's going to be for gas on Arbitrum, but you send it here, and then you get your IBTC, or you get your vault deposit or whatever, and then you're good to go, and you just kind of you can hang out there.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here. Yeah, the big question is what L2 is going to be the winner, or which one is going to be the safest / fastest place to start to move over. As a myself, it's like once you're getting into the Ethereum realm, you're kind of giving up your first principles in a sense. So you kind of want to like make it fast, and not like, you kind of want to just like hold your breath and be like, fuck it, all right, I'm giving up on this like cold only way of life, and I just want to fucking start earning like these high yields. And so I guess we would have to trust Badger to like look at all the L2s and figure out which is like the long-term most aligned, but also is willing to make those compromises that just like make it easy. So it's a difficult choice. I can't pretend I know the answer to that, but I would defer to the guys on your team who are like in this world like all day and every day, and they're gonna like just say, okay, we're gonna put the money on Arbitrum, or we're gonna put the money on Optimism, and just like go for it. and see what happens.
So you're saying you're already like in a back room, like hiding from everyone, like
Yeah,
one
yeah.
on,
On Twitter,
really
saying
dark.
it's a
You're like,
Yeah.
God damn it! All right, fine.
Yes, exactly.
I hate ETH anyway, so I don't really care which one.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it. But these Badger guys seem okay, so I'll maybe trust their decision.
They're my people on the Ethereum chain, and I'm starting to become more open-minded. I'm less of a maxi, and I'm like, okay, Badger are my people. They get the Honey Badger. They got a good brand. They got some good marketing going.
Yeah.
They got some good attractive yields. Like, let me ape into this shit. I don't want to know too much. I just want to get in.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would be my approach. And I don't know exactly how it all looks. Like, you're asking the right questions in my mind, but something along those lines makes a lot of sense to me. It's like maxi zone, like help people get their Bitcoin into this process and trust you guys to direct it into the right place.
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky bit, like a tricky thing balancing, the ETH native and just DeFi native people who just they're like, hey, I can get 300% APY on BSC. Like, why don't you go launch some shit over there? Versus the normies and maxis who are like, just give me decent yield somewhere. I don't really necessarily care.
Right.
And how prescriptive are we on things versus like giving everyone the full buffet? But yeah, I mean, I think thinking of that mode probably makes a lot of sense. And any chain that we go on, there's going to be kind of two different things. There's just going to be making the assets available, which is like IBBTC, making it available for anyone to hop into and hold. But then there's also going to be, will we have chain native vaults there? So like on Matic, obviously we could launch like a quick swap vault, or we could launch a leveraged Aave vault, things that are kind of in the works right now. But those live on Matic. You wouldn't, they'll still create vault assets that you could then bridge back to ETH layer 1 if you want, but they're not really, I don't see necessarily the point in that. So it'd just be like, well, where do we direct people? And I think, from what you're saying is, I think, the long-term goal, probably if we can drive better yield to IBBTC, is just kind of try to push them there and be like, hey, look, you sent your Bitcoin, you now have this asset. And then like, you can leave a couple little breadcrumbs and they're like, hey, here, maybe read about how you can use it as collateral somewhere and borrow some stable coins. And then
I think that makes a lot of sense. IBTC, I think, is going to be that bridge that gets Bitcoiners in. And yeah, as long as that yield is over 2%, which is what Genesis is offering, and so as long as you can just edge out Genesis after fees, you're going to be like, okay, this is great. And now I can stake this and learn about LPing in the background and figure this shit out. But let me first get into IBBTC like as pain-free as possible. And if it's like the flagship product, it feels like it shouldn't be just like on the column on the left. Like it should be like on the homepage. It's like deposit Bitcoin here, get your IBTC, start becoming a Badger and like figuring it all out. But like IBTC is where you start. Right now on the homepage, that's not clear at all that it's a flagship product,
Yeah, that's a good point. So I mean, we need to clean that up. Like those curve vaults are basically redundant now because the Yearn vault deploys those strategies in the background. Like I said, we're going to have more vaults that I think are, will do more interesting things. We got a couple cool projects that we're talking to right now. Are, like one's working on doing tranched vaults using LP positions. So you basically can carve out like the BTC component of a BTC paired LP, and then basically have the junior tranche guarantees the yield to the senior tranche. So experimental stuff that hopefully can maybe eventually feed into IBBTC, but is kind of experimental for now. And I think what you bring up is a good point that maybe when we're talking about our landing page highlighting IBBTC, unless the vaults, is probably a smart move. Cool.
Hey, John, I just want to thank you for like listening to me and hearing my points, and it's giving me a lot of confidence that you guys are the team I want to back and like get like you guys are thinking about things 2 steps ahead of me, and it's fucking awesome just to do that. So just appreciate you, man.
Awesome, I appreciate you hopping on and providing feedback. I think it's it's easy for team in the community to get disconnected. I mean, the community is the team. Anyone can, and we'll be having more information coming out about this too, but we're going to, be making it easier and easier to start, contributing and kind of just join up too.
Yeah. That's what I would love, that opportunity is like, I don't know exactly how to contribute except just banging away on Discord. And so I would be excited for that.
Sweet, man. Yeah. That, and for anyone on here, bang away in the Discord, but also like forums, and then just make proposals if it's something, even if it's I'm a designer by no means, but I can make a shitty mock-up and be like, hey, I think this would make sense. Throw it at us, and
And that's on the forum.
Yeah, or just ping us on Discord or whatever. I think we'll be having more information coming out soon for opening up the floodgates a bit more to like our builder. Just there's a separate Discord server for like builders, but like it's not just developers. It's anyone, and we're working very closely with Gitcoin to ramp up our grants and like bounty situation. And there's like design and other stuff in that too. But we're paying a guy right now to do analysis of how different DeFi projects are like paying people because like it's a hard problem. We're just interested in how people are doing stuff. So economic stuff, design stuff, anything that you think brings value, by all means, you can ping us. I'm not always in the regular Discord, but some of the other guys are there. You can just ping me directly if there's ways you think you can bring value, or if like you have Maxi friends and you want to do like a line up a call with us and some of your Maxi buddies. They could all be anonymous if they want. They can get like voice modulators, so you don't have to know that they're all talking about possibly putting money on Ethereum. That's people we're trying to target. We're targeting obviously Bitcoin at the institutional level, but we'd love to get more people that are DeFi curious to check it out.
Right on.
All right, cool. I'll crank through a couple other. I'm going to scroll back up here. Any questions on the chat? All right, there are a couple other things I'll come back to that are unrelated. Ingots, you brought up kind of like a BlockFi type product. And yeah, I think I would really like to go that way, especially for mobile. And actually, we just had a guy submit a hackathon project that was really cool. It's built on Matic, but it was basically you deposit USDC and then it puts that into like a Yearn type vault. I think he built his own strategy, but it's basically like a leveraged Aave strategy to farm at like 20-30% with your USDC, but then use that to then buy Bitcoin, buy WBTC. So it's similar to like BlockFi. If you've used it, you can like put your dollars in there, earn 8.5%, and then you can actually flip a switch and say, okay, I want to earn my interest in Bitcoin. So it just buys Bitcoin at the end of the month. But this would do this in, it would hourly, I guess, because Matic's so cheap, you can like harvest the yield on your dollars frequently and buy Bitcoin with it. And I think, we might talk to him about making that buy IBBTC once we get the liquidity lit up there. So I totally want to go that route. But yeah, I guess as we were just talking, like, choosing the right chain situation is a little tricky, but I think it's fair to say that there needs to be like minimum viable stuff there to pull it off. Tranches, SG brought up tranches. Are they with Saffron or Bridge? It's actually a new project called Ondo that hopefully will be, I think they're launching in the next couple weeks. But yeah, they're a little different in that they are focusing on LP pairs. So basically, you put your Sushi LP. They basically source deposits from two parties. Like you could do a WBTC Badger LP. So one entity puts in WBTC, and that's like the senior tranche. Another entity puts in Badger, that's the junior tranche. That goes into an LP position. The senior tranche has a fixed return, say like 5% annual. And then goes into basically an LP vault. It farms the sushi, farms whatever else it can farm. And then at the end of it, they're fixed duration products. So let's say it's like a month long. At the end of the month, it has to, the senior tranche is able to withdraw all BTC denominated, their deposit, plus the, prorated 5% annual. So whatever that is, like 0.7% or something. Actually, much less than that. I don't know how much I would actually come out to be, like less than 0.5% growth. And then the junior tranche withdraws, whatever is left. So ideally, it's been farming at a decent rate, and they get additional yield. But they're also taking on all impermanent loss risks that could go in their favor or not in their favor, as far as if they get more out of it. So it's a different approach to the tranching thing. With the yields where we have them, I think it's difficult on the Bitcoin vaults. I think it's difficult to do any single vault tranching because like you're not getting that much by leveraging up. I still think that's something that we could work on, but it's I don't think it's there right now. ETH is more. Any plan to let us join, watch the developers Discord? Yeah, it's So it's pretty open, and I think it'll be driven more by getting more visible grant stuff out there. Like I said, we're kind of restructuring what it really means to be quote unquote on the team. I think we just want to make it easier for people to join and start earning like and getting paid more consistently and have so like what is being on the team? If you can pop in, pick up a grant or pick up a bounty and do it and you get paid and you can keep contributing month to month and get paid. The support team gets paid monthly through the grants. But we were just thinking about like what does it mean to be like a long-term contributor. So when we first started, we was like, all right, we need to lock in some people to make sure we get through the year and like have some consistency in people that are going to continue to contribute. And like all you can do is really offer economic incentives. You can't like force people. Like there's no legal ramifications if I like stop working with Badger. It's just if I just ghosted tomorrow, they would stop. I think the team would vote to stop paying me. So like that's really the only agreement. And it's like it's kind of handshake agreement right now that like, hey, we're going to pay you this much, and like you stick around and kind of keep contributing. But like if people have reasons to leave, maybe they start another project, maybe something happens in their life and they need to like go away. Like it's not, and you can leave on decent terms. Like it's fine. But I think what we're trying to like do is we're looking to do is blur more of the lines between like, hey, you're just contributing month to month, and like you're versus like you're on the team, and that might be. Being on the team is more like, doing a verbal-ish commitment and then getting some more like, getting vested bonus or something like that kind of like locks you in with a long-term economic incentive, but where you're still getting kind of paid monthly, similar to someone who's, just popping in, a month or two here or there to contribute. So I think once we do that, like open up the grant stuff a bit more and like honestly, like to get in the developer Discord, it's really just become part of something that we're working on building, and that can just be making a proposal or something you think we should change, or provide good feedback on a product we are working on. It's like I said, building can be putting together mock-ups, it can be doing economic analysis, anything like that. Just bring it up, and if it's an initiative that we're working on or think is valuable to work on, then we'll pull you in and get you in the right channels, and you kind of go from there. It's not a strict gate by any means, but we don't want to just have it completely wide open, because then it's people who aren't interested in building stuff, when they come in there, they just kind of don't do anything, which is fine. Whatever. It's not a big deal. And when you hop in, there's like 3 or 4 channel. I guess maybe there's like 4 or 5 channels, but then there's probably 50 in the background in various levels of like activity. The one thing that we do have going, I guess, is the channel we just launched where the council does votes on things that we're just putting through council vote that aren't going through like full BIPs. But yeah, I mean, I think, I think we want to get more regular writing out. We're still working on getting like the regular roadmap thing posted, and these touch points I think are good. And then a lot of the builder stuff, it would be hard to like monitor and get much out of it. But transparency is something we're always kind of striving for. So I don't know, maybe we eventually make some of them like view only or something. Angus, you said the UX has too many acronyms. I assume this is the end user is quite proficient in the DeFi products. What do you mean by too many acronyms, like the BVYE, Curve, Vault, or something?
Yeah, I'm the one who suggested. I mean, I'm quite new to DeFi, so like the DW Bitcoin, and like there's so many different type of BTC, so it's quite confusing.
Yeah, I think that's more. Yeah, it comes down to the like focusing on IBBTC and the curation component of saying like, yeah, there's all this other cool stuff you can do in the app, but if you're just kind of like hopping in, here's the baseline, what you can do, and then we can kind of obfuscate any of the complexity behind that.
Some of them are like liquidity pools, for example. So obviously
right.
It's a bit different, right? So there's a different kind of risk, so we can like categorize them in different categories.
Yeah. I agree. Having like a filter or categorization would be ideal. That's why I mean, one of the things we've been poking around for a while is trying to get a UI UX person that wants to come on more full time. I think would be a huge benefit. So, like you go look at like the Yearn site, and sucks. Like, it's just this big list of vaults, and you're just like, what the hell is this? Obviously, we want to be friendly to consumer, but I think we're if anyone knows a killer UI UX person, like I said, we have a couple people that are doing bounties on that right now to put proposals forward, but anyone else that's out there, more than happy to pull them in and take proposals as well. Yes, but Thorchain is very Maxi aligned. It seems very Maxi aligned. Any discussions with integrations with them? It pops up in discussions here and there, but we haven't really gone down the rabbit hole of what like a Thorchain integration would look like. They kind of have, like, they're trying to be like the kind of an all-in-one thing, right? Like, I feel like they're trying to do their own DeFi for Bitcoin and other assets, but be kind of isolated. So I'm not sure if there's a play for us there. And I would put Sovereign in the same kind of category. For those who aren't familiar, Sovereign's kind of like a DeFi platform built on Rootstock, which is EVM compatible, but it's like co-mined or something like that with Bitcoin, I think. So it retains some of Bitcoin security properties. There's some security trade-offs for the chain itself. Poopster, yeah, you can ping me on Discord, all good for the UI position. Yeah, so I would put them in that category of things that are in the periphery that are interesting. But I think there's just a lot that we have going on right now that we kind of can game plan for, like moving assets, to different chains, having vaults on different, EVM compatible chains that are easier wins. But if anyone knows anyone from those teams that are interested in specifically in working with us, and that's probably the other thing too, is that, people from those sides haven't shown great interest in working with us specifically. I mean, we haven't really gone out and tried to actually, we have some connections at Sovereign, but it hasn't really made a lot of sense, I guess, to do something so far. But if anyone knows people from those teams or those communities that think it would make sense for us to do something with Thorchain or Sovereign, I think it would have to be kind of bringing to the teams together with a kind of a proposal in mind of like, hey, this is how this would work. Because right now it's just like, maybe we could send them flow for a fee share, and I just don't know if they're doing that. Oh, you said, for example, we could list IBBTC on ThorSwap. Yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly what that would entail. I haven't really dug into ThorSwap if it would mean we'd have to create some sort of IBBTC liquidity pool, but I think we're down with that. And we are talking to centralized exchanges about getting IBBTC listed there. If we're just talking about like different layers and access to it, which I think could be a nice way to, onboard maxis as well. It's like, okay, sitting in the, centralized exchange, you're giving up that custody. And then, you kind of already, you're like, well, maybe ETH is a little better and I can get interest and I can still do some trading or whatever. ETH is more, I think I saw that question higher up. Let's see, what did I skip up here? ETH is more, yeah. So sometimes on these calls, we get some alpha leaks as well. I guess I can give a quick touch on the rev share model. So that's what I've been working on mostly last week and beginning of this week is proposal for the Badger token, like kind of the next iteration of it. Obviously right now it's pretty much just governance. It's been used to bootstrap the community. So looking to build out a couple different components, and Preeny, maybe as a maxi, I'd be interested to hear your opinion on this. So there's two major things that we'll be looking to, I guess 3 major things that we'll be kind of proposing. And just basically the status of the proposal right now is like I've written it up, shared it with the team, getting feedback from the team. And then I think we're going to get some feedback from some of our investors from that, there aren't traditional investors. It's like, the diversification event, DeFi focused funds have expressed interest in like weighing in on the model as well. So probably going to get their feedback on it first, and then we'll be tossing it up, post that feedback into like a general discussion forum post for everyone to weigh in on, and then probably do some calls on it, and then it'll probably end up being a couple different bips as we kind of roll it out. But the kind of 3 major components that we're looking to put in place. One is the rev share, which will basically just be using a portion of the revenue flowing in for Badger to buy back Badger and then emit it as part of the emissions to the different sets, to Badger stakers and then to folks that are just add it to the emissions pool that we're using right now. So that's one component. But I think the bigger component, and it's pretty basic. Like Sushi does that. Basically, you would just stake Badger, you get your Bee Badger, and then you just get more Badger over time. And then we also use emissions to, add yield to the different vaults. The bigger component that we're looking to do is actually we're focused on Bitcoin, very focused on Bitcoin. And, we want to kind of put our token where our mouth is. And, the goal is going to be with the revenue to build up a pool of Bitcoin that's in the treasury. But just like everything else is in the treasury, I mean, the token has a claim on the treasury, but right now it's used as a signaling mechanism. And then, the assets are controlled by like the dev multisig. And there will be more information coming up on our plans for eventually gradually moving towards more direct token holder control. But as that happens, like, okay, you have a soft claim on the treasury, but what we want to do is create a hard claim. And so the proposal is going to be to start using the revenue to also build up a pool of Bitcoin in the treasury, possibly held in IBBTC or in some other yield generating form that Badger tokens will have be redeemable for. So at any point, but it'll be redeemable at 1/21 millionth. So each Badger will have an equal claim on that pool of Bitcoin that hopefully will grow very much over time. So it'll be a small amount now because we've only been launched for 6 months. We haven't we're planning on being around for much longer than that. So the question that people have to ask is, okay, how based on our current revenue and where they think Bitcoin will go, how large will that pool get? And then that becomes just one component of Badger, meaning that it's kind of a backstop. It's a that Badger's always worth this amount of Bitcoin at least. And then on top of that, you have the added, so that's one value part, just saying, okay, how much Bitcoin do I think is that pool going to be in 5 years? And then how much is Badger worth now? And you can kind of model that out and say, okay, well, if I buy Badger now, that gives me, it's ideally more of a leveraged bet on a pool of Bitcoin in the future that will be growing based on our fees and then also interest earned. So we think that's a pretty strong narrative to tie Badger to Bitcoin. And then on top of that, you still have the soft claim through governance, but this will be a straight redemption. Anyone can do it whenever they want. If the token holders wanted to dissolve Badger right now for its held assets, it could do it. But obviously, like, you can't personally just decide to do that. You need everyone else to vote too. So that's that's more of a soft claim on the treasury. And then you get also with the asset, you'll be earning yield in Badger from the emissions that will be, the revenue will be split between filling that redemption pool and then also going towards the weekly emissions. And that'll be parameters that people can control. You also get the Badger boost, so that it will kind of drive the demand side for people who want to hold more Badger, so they get a larger portion of the emissions relative to other folks, and just overall general governance rights. So those are the two additions, the big things on the upside. And then, we are looking into adding kind of a security module type component so that, the Badger stakers would actually backstop losses in the system in some capacity. That is, that's a more nuanced model that will probably take time to get built out. But it's my opinion that if we're paying Badger stakers, we should be paying them for something, and that something should be, security. So that's the RevShare token alpha. If I'm happy to take, you guys got 9 minutes. If anyone has any opinions on any of those components. Preemie as a maxi, if we do get it set up and say, hey, this token's redeemable for Bitcoin, and we have a revenue generating business roughly on top of it that just continually stacks Bitcoin into that pool, do you think that could make us a maxi friendly token?
Yeah, I mean, for people who are willing to look outside of the maxi bubble, I mean, that's what we're looking for. We want to put our Bitcoin to work, and we want to get paid in Bitcoin. So I just fucking love what you're saying. I love the fact that Badger would be claimable for Bitcoin. I think it just feels so aligned, or for IBBTC. I mean, it's just it feels like, okay, this is where I want to park my Bitcoin, period. And I can go to sleep and go hug my wife, and I can stop worrying about interest rates fluctuating on BlockFi and Ledin and and I can just trust Badger is going to be deploying my Bitcoin in the best possible place with the best possible security trade-offs. And it's just like, okay, great. Now I can just start to go all in on this.
Sweet, man. Glad to hear it. Yeah, and that's the goal, is that, it's not about guaranteeing a fixed return. It's just guaranteeing that you're going to be getting at least close to the best return and not have to do a lot to do it.
Right, exactly. Because right now my Bitcoin's spread over like freaking a dozen different services, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Like every month my accounting is crazy. Like I have to log into all these freaking services, and I just want to consolidate. And I'm okay with a variable rate as long as I know Badger team is like, they're maxis at heart and they want to freaking maximize the yield too, but without totally giving up any security. So it just feels like if we can just like really focus this, I don't know. It just feels like you're speaking my language. Like you're selling the shit out of me right now, and you're not even trying to sell.
Sweet. Yeah. That was Poe is the big driver for stacking Bitcoin. And then in the treasury versus, focusing on emissions, which I think, if we can, I look at it and probably, there'll be another proposal obviously about like what we do with emissions period, but I think it's probably worth it to use more of the treasury tokens to keep emitting for a while, to keep people in the platform, and build up that base of Bitcoin and focus more, use treasury Badger to kind of bootstrap this Bitcoin pool. And we've got some other things coming about how we can reduce emissions for some of the other, like, stop paying as much for liquidity and things like that. And we can use that to kind of bootstrap that pool. And then once that kind of gets the flywheel going, I think the way that revenue is going to flow to Badger is actually going to go to the pool first. And then we're just going to shave off a percent of the pool, monthly or weekly, however we structure it. But it would be some percentage much smaller than the growth rate.
Right.
So it continues to grow. And then, as, we have a few different revenue sources. One's just like vault fees. We also deployed the treasury stability funds into different tranches for farming. That will go likely to operational costs first, but then in excess, it'll buy Bitcoin, go to the pool. And then any of the incubator investments that we do, we'll be looking to, as we kind of strategically realize profits on those profits will go into the pool as well.
Right. I think what this boils down to for me is that maxis want to see Bitcoin locked. So the more that Badger's locking up Bitcoin and focusing the treasury efforts on locking up more Bitcoin and not farming all these other assets, which is good for now. I understand where you're at, but like to build up that vault that then you can claim Badger against, like that just makes so much sense. It's because like by contributing to Badger, you're taking not just your Bitcoin off the market, but Badger's taking Bitcoin off the market too, and just like helping feed the supply shock.
I totally want to make it a very easy, simple storage contract that's kind of like one way, and then there's going to be one parameter for the harvest that will run whatever interval, whether we do it monthly or weekly, to get the emissions funds, and that'll be controlled by governance. So I think the initial thing I'm thinking of is like 0.5% per month or per week. I forget, something like that. So something pretty small, and maybe we keep that at zero for a while until we kind of get it to a certain number, and then and hopefully and it hopefully brings more value to Badger by buying it back and kind of creating that. That there's always like a baseline buyer for Badger as well.
Right. Great. I have to jump off, but thank you so much, Shanto. Appreciate you. And the rest
thanks, man. Appreciate the opinions and everything.
All right.
Yeah, I guess we're wrapping up here soon. Carlo, you invested in Badger yesterday. You got 2 coins. I don't know your personal situation, so I can't say how many Badger you should or should not have. But I'm glad you're here doing some due diligence, and then do whatever makes sense to you. Does Barry Silbert have anything to do with Badger? Not that I'm aware of. Chris knows a lot of people. I don't know if he knows Barry.
Thanks for answering that.
Yeah, no problem. But I think we have had some discussions with Grayscale, but like kind of everyone does. I don't know. Everyone always sees those different like filing forms about like the Grayscale trusts that they basically have them for like every major DeFi coin. So I don't know if there's anything to that. That was a couple months ago. Not sure if a Badger trust is in the works. I would guess we're not a super high priority for them.
Well, I'm trying to dip my feet in the water and figure out what's best for me. But I've realized that I've looked into Everest ID coin. Everest. I have a lot of Doge, but I've been stuck on Doge for a while. Badger seemed to interest me, but Barry Silbert, he tweeted a Badger, and I wasn't sure if that had anything to do with anything. But
Oh, he did?
I was very curious to see. Yeah, had nothing to do with Badger. It was just a physical Badger.
Oh,
And it was in the middle of that whole crypto crash, and I don't know. My buddies are on Elon One, and I don't know. We're trying to find the next wave, and
yeah. Be
trying to
careful.
dip my feet in and figure this whole thing out.
Yeah, be careful with the meme coins. Obviously it would have been great to play a lot of those over this past year or so. I was not in Doge. I'm not in any of the Elon coins, which I don't even know if there's any intended purpose to those. Just I would say use your holding of Doge to look into the history of Doge. It is purely started as and has continued to be a joke of sorts. So there can be value in that, but it depends what kind of how you look at value.
No, and I understand that. My whole investment was under $1,000.
Okay, yeah.
And I have a little under 100,000 Doge. But the other day, before Saturday Night Live, I had $80,000, and I'm stuck there because it's a real case scenario. So it's like, hey, where do I put my money next? And
yeah, I would say, yeah, I'm biased, obviously, but DeFi is, I still think, has some of the best projects because a lot of them are actually revenue generating. So check out blue chip DeFi.
Well, I like Maker. I don't know if you ever looked at Maker coin.
Yeah. Think. I'm not going to show any preps. I don't want to give I'm not giving any financial advice or anything like that. But things that I think have proven to have good cash flows are Maker, Uniswap, Compound, Aave, Sushi. A lot of those. If you go to crypto fees, what's that site? Crypto fees. This is one easy way just to see what actually be in the space. I'll drop it in the chat here. But pretty much anything that's on that list, you're making, you can look at the fees that they're earning, and if you expand it, you can see what their market cap is. And if you're just going to see, okay, what's earning fees compared to their market cap, that's not a bad place to start if you're looking for things that might do well. Things, and a lot of these, QuickSwap's new on the list. It's people are getting hot and heavy over Matic, but things that have been pretty consistent existing on this list, you've got the Curve, Synthetics, Ren, Balancer, Maker, Bancor, Compound. Pretty much everything on this list is earning good revenues and fees, and is I would consider reasonable long-term places to kind of hang out in. Now, when you buy, where we are in the cycle, everything's still privy to the cycle, so you never know, entries and whatnot. But if you're looking to dip your toe into different kind of products and communities, I think that's where to go. Or as Angrid said, you can always just buy ETH. yeah, Maker's cool. Maker's doing a lot of stuff. If you want exposure to the real world assets as collateral in DeFi, Maker's probably the angle to go there. ETH is more. So I guess we'll wrap up here. But one last question: any active work to sort out Badger's financial report? Yes, and there is a post that is getting worked out by Mason right now that hopefully will be out in the next days or week. That'll be kind of our first one, and then I'm very much pushing to getting regular, kind of more templated reports out there as well. And then so that'll be more probably just done manually, and then also have a post about proposed just kind of reorganization and reclassification of a lot of the stuff in the treasury, because we have all these assets there, and some of them are all in the same fund. The same wallet. It's hard to know what's what and what's intended to be used for what. So we're gonna put something out about that, and then we have a couple people that are engaged on a more kind of scalable thing here, and I'll drop it here. I don't know if this thing DAO Watch that Tritium put together too also has a lot of. It's not 100% it might not have 100% of all the contracts in it, but you can check out the Dow Watch site, and Tritium maintains this, and it has a lot of just financial performance charts and things to muck around with. But nothing's kind of solidified yet. But yeah, definitely it's probably in the top 5 of priority things that we're cranking on right now. Cool. All right. Well, really appreciate everyone hopping on. Keep an eye out. I guess the next one will be in 2 weeks. And if you have any questions, ping me, Will, whoever on the team. And I guess I'll talk to you guys then.